Imagine you're the captain of the most powerful warship in the world. You have billions of dollars of technology on board. You have trained sailors, radar systems, and missiles that can knock objects out of the sky. And then someone tells you, there's a missile flying at you right now, skimming just above the water at nearly 3 times the speed of sound, and your defense systems may not have enough time to react. That is the exact scenario the US Navy is facing right now in the Middle East. China just handed Iran a weapon that military experts are calling a complete game changer. And if you haven't heard about this yet, you need to, because what happens in the Persian Gulf right now could affect American foreign policy, military strategy, and your tax dollars for the next decade. And before I get into exactly what this weapon is and why it changes everything, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. I cover breaking updates on US defense, policy changes, and global events that affect life here at home, and I post these updates regularly, so you're never the last person to find out. Don't miss what's coming next. Subscribe now and stay ahead. So here's where we are right now. In early 2026, tensions between the United States and Iran reached a level nobody had seen since the days right after 9/11. The US deployed two of its most powerful aircraft carrier strike groups to the Middle East. The USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford, two of the largest warships ever built, were both sent to the waters near Iran. That's over 5,000 military personnel and more than 150 aircraft on just those two ships alone. The message was clear: the United States was ready for a fight if diplomacy failed. But while America was busy moving its ships into position, something else was happening quietly in the background. China was making moves. According to a bombshell report from Reuters, confirmed by 6 different intelligence and government sources, Iran was very close to finalizing a deal to buy supersonic anti-ship missiles directly from China. And then, according to multiple defense reports published in early March 2026, China had already secretly delivered a package of weapons worth somewhere around $5 billion to Iran, right in the middle of a standoff with the United States. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what this weapon is, why it has military experts alarmed, what China's real strategy is here, and what this means for America's position in the world. This is not a panic situation, but it is a situation every informed American should understand. So let's get into it. Let's start with the weapon itself. The missile is called the CM-302. Now, that probably sounds like just a random number to you, and that's okay. Let me explain what it actually is in plain English. The CM-302 is an anti-ship cruise missile. That means it is specifically designed to find a ship, fly toward it, and destroy it. It is made by a Chinese state-owned company called CASIC, which stands for China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation. And here is what makes this missile so dangerous. It is supersonic. That means it travels faster than the speed of sound. To give you a sense of scale, a regular commercial airplane travels at about 575 miles per hour. The speed of sound is around 767 miles per hour. This missile travels at somewhere between 2 and 3 times that speed. So we're talking roughly 1,500 to 2,000 miles per hour. And it doesn't just fly fast, it flies low, right above the surface of the water, like dangerously close to the water. This is called sea skimming, and the reason it matters is because ship radar systems have a hard time detecting things that are flying that low and that fast. By the time a radar picks it up, the reaction window is extremely short. The CM-302 has a range of about 180 miles, which is roughly 290 kilometers. That means Iran could potentially fire this missile from land, from a ship, or even from an airplane, and target a US warship that is nearly 200 miles away. The US Navy would need to detect it, identify it, and shoot it down in a matter of seconds. China's own marketing materials for this missile, and yes, they actually market it at international weapons shows, describe it as the world's best anti-ship missile, capable of sinking an aircraft carrier or a destroyer. And that is exactly the kind of ship the United States currently has sitting in the waters near Iran. Danny Citrinowicz, a former Israeli intelligence officer who now researches Iran for a major security think tank, said this about the CM-302 when he heard Iran might get it. He said, and I'm quoting directly here, "It's a complete game changer if Iran has supersonic capability to attack ships in the area. These missiles are very difficult to intercept." That is a former intelligence professional telling you that this is not a normal development. This is something that changes the balance of power in that region. Now here's where it gets even more important, because it's not just this one missile. Let me tell you about the full picture of what China apparently handed over to Iran. Quick question, are you subscribed yet? Because here's the thing, Most people who watch a video like this will remember it for a day or two and then forget about it. But what I'm covering here is part of a much bigger story that keeps developing. If you're subscribed, you'll get updates every time there's a major development in US defense, foreign policy, or anything that could hit your wallet or your life. It takes 2 seconds. Just tap that button. Okay, let's continue. According to defense analysts and reporting from Global Defense Corp published in March 2026, China didn't just send Iran a few missiles. The total weapons package reportedly included around 50 of these CM-302 anti-ship missiles, but that was just one part of a massive arms delivery. Iran also reportedly received 6 HQ-16B surface-to-air missile systems. These are anti-aircraft weapons designed to shoot down planes and incoming missiles. Iran also received around 1,200 manpads, which are shoulder-fired anti-aircraft systems that soldiers can carry and use in the field. On top of that, the package reportedly included 300 kamikaze drones, 3 of China's most advanced anti-ballistic missile systems, multiple radar systems, and 50 HQ-19 anti-satellite interceptor missiles. Let that sink in for a moment. Anti-satellite missiles. Iran may now have weapons that can target satellites in orbit. Those satellites are what US forces use for communications, navigation, and targeting. If Iran could knock out the right satellite at the right time, it could blind parts of the US military in a way that no traditional weapon could. The estimated value of this entire package is somewhere around $5 billion, and here's the detail that surprised everyone. Reports suggest China delivered these weapons from the People's Liberation Army's own active inventory, meaning they didn't wait to manufacture new ones. They pulled from their own military stockpile to get them to Iran fast. That tells you something about how serious this is and how deliberate China's decision was. Now, you might be asking yourself why China would do this. Why risk an international incident? Why violate a United Nations weapons embargo that was reimposed on Iran in late 2025? And why hand one of America's main adversaries in the Middle East a massive military upgrade? The answer is actually very straightforward once you zoom out and look at the bigger strategic picture. But first, let me pause here for a second. If this information is already helping you understand what's really going on in the world, imagine getting updates like this on a regular basis. That's what subscribers get. Clear, simple, no-nonsense breakdowns of what's happening and what it means for you. Subscribe now and you'll never be playing catch-up when the big stories break. Let's talk about why China did this, because this is the part most people miss. China is not just trying to help Iran, China is playing a much longer game. Think about it this way. Right now, as of early 2026, approximately 40% of all US Navy ships are deployed to the Middle East. 40%. That means nearly half of America's most powerful naval assets are focused on one region, thousands of miles away from the Pacific Ocean, which is where China is actually located. There is currently no US aircraft carrier available in the Asia-Pacific region because the one carrier that was there is under maintenance. Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, 3 US allies who depend heavily on American military presence to deter China, are all watching this situation nervously. Lawmakers in Japan actually held emergency meetings asking Washington to guarantee that US military resources stationed in Asia would not be permanently pulled away. Taiwan's own legislators warned that prolonged US military distraction in the Middle East could make Beijing bolder about increasing pressure on Taiwan. Here is the reality. Every day that the United States is locked into a military standoff in the Persian Gulf is a day that China gets to do what it wants in the Pacific with far less resistance. And China knows this. Analysts have pointed out that this is not the first time China has benefited from America being distracted. When the US was deep in the Afghanistan war for 2 decades, China quietly built up its military, expanded its presence in the South China Sea, and modernized its armed forces at a stunning pace. History is repeating itself right now, just in a different region. So when China hands Iran $5 billion worth of weapons, China isn't just helping a friend. China is investing in keeping America busy. Every American missile fired at Iran costs money. Every day, a carrier strike group sits in the Persian Gulf costs money. And while America's munitions reserves reportedly stretch thin from all this activity, and while it could take years to rebuild those reserves, China is sitting back, watching, and planning. And now, here is where it gets really important for you to understand. Because the natural next question is, can't the US just shoot these missiles down? What about all the American defenses out there? Before I continue, I need to say this. The people who stay informed about these developments are the ones who understand the real risks before they show up on the front page of the news. If you're not subscribed, you are relying on luck to find out what matters. Hit subscribe right now and join thousands of people who choose to stay ahead instead of playing catch up. Alright, so yes, the US does have defenses. Let's be honest about that. The American military is not sitting out there unprotected. US Navy destroyers carry something called the Standard Missile Interceptors, specifically the SM-3 and SM-6 variants, which are designed to knock incoming missiles out of the sky. The US also has Patriot missile batteries deployed in the region and F-35 stealth fighter jets flying missions from the carrier decks. According to U.S. Central Command, American forces actually intercepted more than 52 missiles and drones during exchanges in early 2026. Some of the CM-302 missiles reportedly also malfunctioned mid-flight, which limited their effectiveness. So you might be asking yourself, why is this still called a game changer if the US can shoot them down? Here's the key thing you need to understand. The concern isn't that every single missile will get through. The concern is that enough of them might. Imagine you're playing a video game and your enemy fires 50 rockets at you at once. Even if you block 48 of them, the 2 that get through could still do catastrophic damage. And the CM-302 is specifically designed to make blocking those missiles as hard as possible by flying low, flying fast, and approaching from unexpected angles. Defense experts also point out that there is a difference between stopping a small number of missiles in a limited exchange and facing a full-scale, saturated attack. If Iran fires large numbers of these supersonic missiles from multiple directions at the same time, using ships, aircraft, and ground launchers all at once, the math becomes much harder for the U.S. defenses to manage. The military word for this is saturation attack, and it is one of the primary vulnerabilities that experts have worried about for years when it comes to protecting large surface ships in a high-threat environment. There is also the technical reality that some of these weapons are new enough that U.S. systems have limited real-world experience defending against them. The SM-3 and SM-6 interceptors are excellent, but they were designed against specific threat profiles. A supersonic missile flying at sea level at nearly 2,000 miles per hour presents a different kind of challenge than a slower, higher-flying target. This is not a criticism of American military personnel, who are some of the best-trained people on the planet. It is just an honest look at the physics involved. Now here's what you should actually know and do with all of this information, because this isn't just a story about ships and missiles. It affects you. First, understand what this means for U.S. foreign policy in the coming months. The situation in the Middle East is not going to resolve itself quickly. The U.S. has now moved to the most aggressive military posture in the region since 2003. Any escalation with Iran directly affects global oil prices, which affect gasoline prices at every pump in America. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway near Iran, is one of the single most important shipping lanes in the world. Roughly 20% of all global oil passes through it. If that strait gets disrupted in any serious way, energy prices around the world, including in the United States, will spike. Second, watch what happens with Taiwan. Every analyst paying attention to this situation has flagged the same concern. If the U.S. is deeply entangled in a long military campaign in the Middle East, it weakens its ability to deter Chinese aggression in the Pacific. Reports from Japan and South Korea confirm that American allies in Asia are worried. Lawmakers are asking questions. If China sees an opportunity in the Pacific, that situation affects American companies with supply chains in Asia, global technology manufacturing, and the price of goods you buy every single day. Third, pay attention to the United Nations weapons embargo angle. China delivered these weapons to Iran in violation of a UN embargo. This sets a precedent. When major powers start openly violating international arms agreements, it weakens the entire framework of international arms control. That matters for long-term global stability. Fourth, if you have family members serving in the U.S. military, especially in the Navy or Air Force, stay informed about deployments in the Middle East and the Pacific. The military situation is fluid, and the risk level for American forces in the region is genuinely elevated right now. Visit official sources like the Department of Defense website at defense.gov or follow trusted defense journalists for accurate updates. Do not rely only on social media for this kind of information, because the quality of reporting on military topics varies wildly online. What you should not do is panic. This is not a sign that America is about to lose a war. The US military is still the most powerful in the world by a significant margin. The point of understanding all this is not fear. The point is clarity. Knowing what is actually happening helps you make sense of the headlines, understand where your tax dollars are going, and have informed conversations about the choices your government is making on your behalf. Real quick, if you're finding this breakdown genuinely useful, you are not alone. Thousands of subscribers come back to this channel every week because they want clear, honest information presented in a way that makes sense. No spin, no shouting, just the real story. If you want to be part of that, subscribe now, because the story we just covered today is not over. There will be more developments in the coming weeks and months, and I will be here covering every one of them. So let's bring this home. Here is the big picture takeaway from everything we just covered. China made a very deliberate decision to hand Iran one of the most advanced anti-ship missile systems ever built, reportedly as part of a $5 billion secret arms deal, right at the exact moment the United States was sending its biggest naval deployment to the region in over 20 years. That is not a coincidence. It is a strategic move designed to raise the cost and the risk of any American military action against Iran, while simultaneously keeping the U.S. military stretched thin and focused away from the Pacific, where China has its own ambitions regarding Taiwan. The CM-302 is a real threat. Military experts with decades of intelligence experience have called it a complete game changer. It flies low, it flies fast, and it is designed to defeat exactly the kind of ship defenses the U.S. Navy currently relies on. The U.S. does have interceptor systems that can counter it, and some of those intercepts have already happened. But the sheer volume of weapons now potentially in Iran's hands raises serious questions about what a full-scale confrontation would look like. Don't wait until oil prices spike, or until you see a headline about an American warship being targeted, to start paying attention to this story. It is already developing right now. The decisions being made in Washington, Tehran, and Beijing over the next few weeks and months will shape American foreign policy, military spending, and the global balance of power for years to come. And now you know the background. Now you understand what the CM-302 is, what China's actual game plan looks like, and why this matters for people living ordinary lives far away from the Persian Gulf. This isn't about panic. It is about being informed. And being informed means you can think critically, ask the right questions, and understand the world your family is living in. That is always worth your time. If this video helped you understand what's happening and what to do about it, make sure you're subscribed so you catch the next one. I'll be covering more updates that directly affect you, from defense developments to policy changes to economic ripple effects that hit you at home. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, send it to them. A friend, a family member, someone who always asks you what's going on in the news. Share this video with them. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next update.